The election campaign was highly polarized and often framed as a choice about Armenia's geopolitical future. So,
Yes.
in your view, what were the most important issues at stake, and what do the results mean for Armenia's future, as far you can tell at this moment?
Well, I think there are a lot of ambiguities regarding the election results, and opposition, which is now I can say the new forces, parliamentary forces, they are going to uh, challenge the results in the constitutional court. We'll see how it goes. But as for the future of Armenia, uh, we know that we will not leave Eurasian Union. So all the promises that were given by the government ruling party, it was totally just electoral snacks for the people. And by using that, they took all the votes of the pro-European electorate, and no pro-European party passed the threshold. So they took all. But as a result, they argue that they will not leave Eurasian Union, and we don't have any application for the EU. This is the reality. So I was telling the people that they are lying. You be aware about that, but we have what we have. So I think the ruling party managed to play that. This is like a Moldovan case. We are going to EU, and if you vote for us, we will become EU member. If you are against, then we will suffer under Russian pressure and blah, 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 whatever. So, but Moldova has a candidate status. So they have application, they are in process. Armenia is not. So this was all, so to my political analysis, this was all political bluff for just being re-elected. But then we will have other issues with you, I think, because the people there were hoping that Armenia is going to leave Eurasian Union, but Armenia is not leaving. Armenia is going to apply to EU or something like that, but without any invitation. This is also another question. So a lot of ambiguities. Nobody knows what will happen. We know that the government has total support of the U.S. administration, President Trump, Vice President Vance. Marco Rubio did several statements regarding all the campaign, and also visited Armenia for just 1 hour. Um, so I think it's too early to say many things regarding the elections.
You already mentioned the EU. So, in your opinion, what steps would Armenia have to take to deepen its relationship with the EU?
So I think we have a homework that we didn't do. So we signed a SIPA agreement in 2017. This is 2026, and we know that the government failed to do all the reforms. And with this failure, EU appointed consultants to push the reform agenda. So we stuck in the reform process, and nothing goes well regarding the reforms. As for the visa liberalization, this is also another issue that a lot of people, suffering in visa centers, not getting the visas, and also losing all the time and very angry. So this is also another thing that we must work on it and push this agenda. But I think mainly is judiciary reform, law enforcement reform, penitentiary reform, and the electoral reform, which is the core of the process that right now a lot of rumors going on regarding the falsifications. And as I said already, the parliamentary opposition is going to challenge the results in the constitutional court. So
Uh,
we need to reform. We need to reform our electoral code. This code we inherited from the previous regime, with the constitution as well. So it's already 9 years of this party is ruling the country. During whole 9 years, there were a lot of promises regarding the constitutional changes. I am as well part of the Constitutional Council of the reform, but the agenda is not going on, and it just stuck because of the lack of the political will. I don't see that there are political will. So Pashinyan took the power from Sir Sargsyan, and with all these constitutional leverages that prime minister has, this is super prime ministerial system, and he's using it for himself. So why he should change? And he's not going to change, as I understand.
You also already mentioned Armenia's close ties to Russia in especially economic and security terms. So how independent can Armenia even become from Russia?
So we know that about 80% of our agriculture goes to Russia, agricultural goods. So and they closed down all the stuff, and a lot of people are now starving regarding this. They are suffering under the bank loans because they have big loans, and to build these fields and to produce. Uh, lot of agricultural goods, and now we are suffering regarding these sanctions. So Pashinyan promised that after the elections, if he is re-elected, he will go to Moscow and he will solve these issues. And I was challenging him and arguing that if you have these problems, and they say these problems is because of you, how you are going to aftermath after the elections to solve it? What you are going to give them, what you are going to give up in Moscow in order to solve these issues. We don't know yet. We don't have a formed government, and we will see what happens.
Yeah, the election was also marked by many headlines, such as arrestments of the opposition figures, as well as Russian interference.
Yeah.
So, how would you assess the state of Armenian democracy today, and to what extent do you see Russian influence as a challenge to Armenia's democratic development?
A lot of people were detained and arrested. As I understand, about 700 people were arrested, and a lot of criminal investigations going on. And there were allegations about bribing voters. If it's the case, so then the government and law enforcement must act, and all the guys who bribe people or who organize these schemes must be accountable and be imprisoned for sure. There is no any doubts about that. But a lot of people were just speaking or just criticizing and challenging Pashinyan were detained. And even during the campaign, we have such an issue. For instance, I can bring for you the case of Artur Osipyan, who challenged Pashinyan during the campaign, and he was detained. As I understand, hooliganism or something like that was launched as a criminal investigation against this guy, and now he is in hunger strike already 23rd day. And a lot of NGOs, human rights organizations, a lot of people calling Pashinyan release this guy, and many church leadership. A lot of guys were also prosecuted by this government before elections because they know that the church against this government. I think the state of the democratic institutions and human rights and rule of law is totally in a very worst situation. So we have a situation that Pashinyan by himself accepted, that he wrote a WhatsApp message to the president of the Supreme Judiciary Council. This is the highest position in judiciary system, and he asked this guy to resign, and this guy resigned. And this guy also gave the interview, and he said, "Okay, I got such a message." So after that, to talk about judiciary system, to talk about rule of law, I mean, it's a joke. We have a lot of problems. I was, and still I'm arguing that he should not run for the third term. They are criticizing Putin, Lukashenko for of authoritarian regime, for dictatorship, things like that. But what they do the same. They do the same. I mean, he's running third term. Then this third term means that we will have the same problems. So democratic rights, freedoms will be diminished in country for sure.
Do you think the EU is too like blindsided or like too happy about Pashinyan's win, or
Yes, yes, because as I understand, they're closing eyes on all the violations just in order to argue to justify this, that since he's against Russians, then it's okay. He detains his political opponents, so that's fine. Nobody says anything, no word, nothing, no reaction totally. So he uses former KGB prison, which should be closed down long years ago. He didn't close down that. It's a Soviet KGB prison. He uses this prison to imprison his political opponents, the guys who are criticizing him.
yeah, another issue that was very important during the election campaign was the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. So, under what circumstances would a lasting peace with Azerbaijan be possible, in your opinion? And what are your expectations for the upcoming meeting with Azerbaijan in Vienna?
Well, Pashinyan argues that the Nagorno-Karabakh movement is closed, is finished. And, it's a totally manipulation. Nobody is going to open Nagorno-Karabakh movement here. That movement was closed in 1994, I think, when the first ceasefire was signed. But the issue is that the 150,000 ethnically cleansed people, indigenous Armenian people of Nagorno-Karabakh, of Artsakh, they have right to return. And EU Parliament just a month ago adopted a resolution that these people, they have the right to be dignified return, and this right is fundamental. So Pashinyan cannot say these guys they don't have the right to return, and we have these refugees in the country. The issue was during the debates that whether this issue should be kept in our foreign agenda or we must forget that, totally put aside. So they were arguing that we must forget it, we must close it down. But I think that this is not a good strategy because Armenia is giving up its negotiation cards and becoming bankrupt in these terms. But Azerbaijan is pushing their own agenda inside Armenia and around Armenia and all of the time, And they didn't sign this treaty, which is I don't think that it's like a totally peace treaty. There are a lot of mines inside this, and they say Armenia has a homework, should change the constitution, and then after that we will see blah blah blah. So their demands have no logic. You do one demand, then they ask for another. You do another one, then they put on a table another one, which never exists. So this is insane. I don't think that all the time Armenia must give up, give up, give up, and not receiving anything. So when we talk about the peace, for me and for us, for our party, peace is the result of the security architecture. So right now, Armenia doesn't have security architecture, but they talk about peace. Peace without security, institutional security system doesn't exist. What is the peace? Is that a will of Ilham Aliyev, the Azerbaijani dictator? What is the peace? So that is why a lot of challenges were going on during the campaign. And as for the Vienna meeting, I hope to elaborate on these issues more, clearly, having with all the results of the election and upcoming processes as well.
So thank you very much. I have one final question. Maybe very briefly, you can tell us what is your vision for Armenia's future?
Well, Armenia, we think that Armenia must be a European model state with new constitution, checks and balances, without any authoritarian ruling. And also, of course, we think that we must have good relations with our neighbors, but these good relations should not be built on the elimination of Armenian state or Armenian nation. And we think that we have resources and we have political will as a nation to build European model state peacefully with all our neighbors. I mean, this contradiction that we must give up all our national identity, all our history, all our memory in order to be peaceful. This is all manipulation, which was very well organized and very well done by these ruling guys. So, but this is not a reality. There is another reality in the middle.
So thank you very much for your time.